Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. It's Confidently Wrong. Brian, what's up?
What up?
How's it going?
Not bad. I'm just texting right now. Hope you don't mind.
You're texting.
I'm multitasking.
Live
Texting
in
and
the
potting.
moment, sir. We
Texting and
need to have a
potting.
rule about texting. Oh man, well, never
Was
mind.
it school? No phones allowed?
Yeah, I know. My school is no phones allowed. It's crazy.
Good.
Savon, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's
Man,
Saturday.
he showed that mug from the side. He said, "Look at that
What's
shelf."
He's using the booty mug again.
I'm saying
Listen,
that wagon.
He said, "I want you to know."
I ain't seen a wagon like this since the Oregon Trail, baby.
I'm about to put all my books on that shelf.
Guys.
No, but I'm doing good. It's lovely.
Good.
Surviving the winter, enjoying my tea, potting with the boys.
Are you gonna make it to your farmer's market this weekend? Like, what happens when it's that cold? Does it go inside or something?
They have inside booths, but sometimes certain vendors just be outside. I think
They're still outside.
The spot you just gotta thug it out. But the weather's improved, believe it or not. Like it's only like 15. It's not the worst. It could be worse.
What? Ah!
Hey Brian, you
Only
can
15?
agree that teens and 20s is miserable, but once you start getting into the single digits, that's when it's like, all right, I'm done. Like 10
No, my
teens and
cutoff-
above.
my cutoff
Feels
is
like
20.
here is negative, is below zero. The feels like is below
Yeah.
zero. So it's
Ugh.
like, teens is like
Teens is
go
cold,
out
but you
in
can
some
make it
shorts.
work. What? No, teens is like
You can
gotta
make it
gear
work
up.
for sure, but it's
Well,
cold.
it's cold, but you can like make it work cold. Single digits is like, F this. I'm not going outside if I can help it.
You need a whole nother set of gear. I feel like the cutoffs are in the 20s. It's like 40 degrees above and below is different. 20 degrees above and below that is different. And then, yeah, I guess single digits is probably the next cutoff. No thanks.
Yeah. But speaking of cold nights, let's talk about Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Let's go into a night
boy
that is
needs a
sad. A
Like that
sad
was-
night.
Like that transition?
All right. I like the transition. So we actually
You should
get
do a
back,
podcast or something.
we get back into Westeros. This is a show that lives in the same world as Game of Thrones and what's the other one? House of the Dragon. This is called A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's also on HBO. Totally different, I think, showrunners than either of those other two shows. And it's based on some novels that George R.R. Martin wrote after the fact and kind of fits into the world, but has a slightly different focus. So yeah, Sav, you've read the books. You've also, obviously watched all of those other properties. Can you give us context? Like, where does this story about Sir Duncan the Tall and our friend Dunk and Egg, fit into the timeline and kind of the story of the Valerians and the dragons and the Iron Throne?
Yeah, of course. So in terms of stories we're familiar with, this story takes place about 90-ish years before A Game of Thrones starts, the original series we're familiar with, and is about 80 years after the conclusion of House of the Dragon. So this
The
is
War
a
of the
very
Dragons or something like that.
what the House of, yeah. So this is like House, House of the Dragon. So it's like it's more or less about 80 to 90 years right between both of them. At this stage, the dragons are extinct because at this point, events have happened that there are no more dragons.
No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. Which, I mean, we knew that in Game of Thrones, right? But like at this stage of the show, dragons are very much not a thing. The Targaryens are still
And like
large and in
maybe
charge.
only a few people have seen dragons at this point. It's long enough that most people who had seen the dragons are probably dead or really
I don't
old.
think there's any, but I think like Duncan's master, the knight, I think he might have seen a dragon, like the last dragon when he was a kid. But they described the last dragon as like this sickly cat-looking thing that was small and withered. At this point in the stage, no one who is alive has reasonably seen dragons, especially the big ones that we're used to seeing that are the giant Apache attack chopper war machines. Like, there is none of that. There's no reference of that outside of books and shit.
When you say The Last Dragon, I keep thinking of like
Raya?
the 1980s black kung fu guy.
Oh my god.
The Last Dragon.
I don't know where
I hope he shows up in the last season of House of the Dragon.
That would be fire.
Bruce Leroy.
But
Nice.
it takes place decisively in the kind of like pretty much in the middle of all of that. There's other stuff, but then you're getting into spoiler territory. I think that's the important thing to know. About
And
80, 90 years between
there
dragons
also
are dead.
isn't. We don't really know, I guess, but there doesn't really seem to be a battle for the throne either. I mean, I'm sure there's always what's the right word here? not conniptions or conniving.
No. You're asking the right question, Wes. In the context of this story isn't about a war for the Iron Throne.
Right.
House of the Dragon is a civil war for the throne.
I don't even know if there is a war for the Iron Throne going on.
There's
like
not.
We're just not focused on that at all. We're really focused on.
Who knows, right?
There are
Sir Duncan.
Just for context, in terms of this in the story, there are no major wars, and there is no battle for the throne. There's still conflicts going on, but it's not a. Basically, in terms of, and we'll talk more in other questions, but like, this isn't a war for the throne story. I think that's the real important takeaway of like, what's different? It's not a war for the throne.
Okay. We'll get into that to number 3. So, how excited were you for the show? Brian, how excited were you?
I mean, kind of tepidly excited. I knew it was coming out. Like, definitely HBO, their strategy is to extend this IP as much as they possibly can. So this was I think an early developed show, like following the original Game of Thrones series. Like I remember hearing that they had wanted to make the Duncan show for quite some time. I believe George R.R. Martin was involved in the creation of this show, right? So his input is in there. And from what I knew, people love Duncan Egg as this, funny dynamic duo. Maybe not too unlike the unlikely duo of Wonder Man and the Mandarin that we talked about in another podcast. So, all of that is to say, like, it seemed like something, because the fans were interested in it, the, hardcore Game of Thrones fans were into it. I was looking forward to seeing how they were going to do something like this. That is, again, not about the actual thrones, right? But about people, at a ground level living within the Seven Kingdoms, living in Westeros, and what does that look like, right? And we've seen that sort of device in other IP. I feel like we see some of that kind of thing in some Star Wars spin-offs, in some MCU spin-offs, where like, or DC stuff. How do the commoners experience this kind of universe?
Yeah.
And what does it mean for them? And
it's so interesting.
I'm always down for those kind of stories.
Absolutely.
Once the bigger stage has been set, I think it becomes really effective to like contrast that.
100%.
Have you read the books, Brian?
No, I don't read. Come on. Wikipedia, maybe.
He can read, ladies and gentlemen.
He can. He just misses a decision.
Actually,
ain't nobody got time for that.
I had no idea the show was coming out until, I don't know, maybe like a week before it did. So I am all like new to this. I can't say I wasn't excited for it because obviously I didn't know it was coming. But when you guys told me the premise about it, I was like, I think that could be interesting. I'll check it out. I did worry a little bit about how much are we going to be beating a dead horse. I don't know that I'm like in love with this world anymore, right? I think the bad taste in our mouths from the ending of Game of Thrones, even some of House of the Dragon, is like, it kind of drags sometimes. There's like a lot going on that like eventually I just sort of stopped caring a little bit about. And so, I don't know if I'm getting Game of Thrones fatigue, but certainly I was like, I think, this could be a thing where it's just like, we're just extending the universe because it makes money, and that's kind of all we're in it for. So I was just, unsure about like how I would actually vibe with it. Sav, what was your excitement level, given that you had read the books already?
I wasn't excited for this at all.
Okay.
I had zero interest in it. I tried to read the Duncan Egg novellas in the past, and I couldn't really get into them.
Oh, so you haven't read them, actually?
I tried to. I started reading the first one, and it just didn't click with me. I was reading, I was like, I just wasn't enjoying it.
Gotcha.
I know the events of the story just because I've read so much of the other just books and stuff that like you end up learning just the history of kind of the characters a little bit. I didn't read the details of all it because I couldn't click on it. But I wasn't excited because when I read the novella, I frankly thought it was kind of boring. I think what drew me into Game of Thrones was more of the larger
George
scale.
R.R. Martin, I got notes, bro.
No, it's just
George
one of those...
Snore Martin.
No, but I'm saying, but what I liked was what he was doing in his in the other main novels, where I felt like you still, especially more than the show, the books did a good job of really, because of the POV writing style of like a select handful of POV characters, you get huge chunks of chapters that kind of already do the what is it like for the day-to-day person in this crazy world. The show didn't do that as much, but I thought the books was very good, so I felt like I had already gotten that if I want to see slice of life, day-to-day people shit, the books kind of already scratch that itch. So the novellas never clicked with me, and I was never really a big fan. I just thought other elements in like the Game of Thrones stories, history were just, to be honest, more interesting. So I went in like, oh, they're making it? Cool. I don't give a damn about this. Hope it's good.
Yeah.
And what I will say is that couldn't have been more wrong. Full 180. I was wrong.
Nice.
I was wrong as 2 left feet. Which we'll talk more about, but like
No offense to the 2 left feet people out there.
Yeah, no offense to the 2 left feet, you know what I'm saying? I watched this as homework for the pod initially, and me hearing good things about it, plus my impression on the first episode, got me to rethink my stance.
All right, so I probably should have said this earlier. We have only had the first 2 episodes of the show so far. I believe it's gonna be 8, or is it 10?
You can pretty much always say 8, bro. Anytime, how many episodes gonna be?
All right.
Just say 8.
But I feel like HBO often does 10. No. Brian, will you look it up for us while we're doing it? So, anyways, we're only going to talk about the first 2 episodes because it's all that's been released at the time of our recording here. You will probably hear this after maybe 3 or 4 episodes have been out.
6 episodes.
Oh, it's 6. So it's
only
short.
6.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a limited miniseries here.
Makes sense. It's not a long book.
So we can revisit this once the full season has been released. But let's get into it. So Sir Duncan the Tall, Mr. Dunk, and Egg are at the center of our story. Is he? Well, we don't know why he's called Egg, but I feel like we could guess based on his look. And what were your impressions of their dynamic? Does their relationship work for you? Do you like that the story is centered on them so far? Brian, what are you thinking?
I knew going into this that it is a Dunk and Egg story, but I would actually say for the first 2 episodes,
I like that we're really enunciating because of my mistake in the last time you told me about this, and I was like, a Dunkin' egg, like a Dunkin' Donut? What are we talking about here?
Eggs dunking a basketball? No.
Yeah.
I actually think it's more of a Dunk story, right?
It is
and
for sure.
Egg is around, but Egg's not in every scene, right? This is not.
But I think he's
not a two-hander, right?
Maybe.
He'll have his time. He'll have his time.
There are hints that Egg has some mysterious backstory related to the Targaryens, probably. Maybe Egg is a runaway from Dragonstone or something. Who knows, right? There's hints of that, but Egg is not getting scenes by himself, right? Egg is not in every scene, but Sir Duncan is. So to me, it feels very much like the Duncan show, and Egg is kind of a side character.
Is that a bad thing?
And no, not a bad thing. And what's interesting about Duncan the Tall is that, out of everybody we've ever met in Westeros, he is the most dense, like most earnest, most like sincere, just like plain
salt of the earth.
Plain human being in the entire Westeros, Esteros, Northeros. Like, there is no one like him. He's just like, he's not playing an angle. He's not trying to backstab anybody. Maybe he doesn't even really have an agenda. He's just trying to survive. But he's like nice. He's not angry. He has no sarcasm, like no wits,
no sarcasm,
none
at all.
Like no one-liners.
He used to call me dumb.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's all he says.
When
right?
Egg just looked at
Egg
him
is like, "Where's the rest of the story?"
Yeah.
He's like, "What's the rest of the story? What are you looking for?
Was that a
aren't you trying to teach me something?" Like, no, he's the exact opposite of Tyrion Lannister that you could possibly get to.
He's no Littlefoot. He's no Littlefoot.
Still a half man, though. That's the best part.
Kind of fun.
Of course, I relate to Duncan.
But when Egg gets into the mix, and I think that conversation you're referencing where Egg is like, "Are you? Come on, idiot! Like, tell me more. Like, where is this story going?" Egg is somebody who clearly has a better grasp of the world that they live in, and perhaps more adept at navigating things. Is a survivor, and it's interesting for him to be the squire to Sir Duncan. Who's the kind of and still an aspirational type of knight in this story, and seeing, Egg is trying to say like, "Hey man, like you should be thinking about these things." And I think that's kind of fun. But at the same time, Dunk takes on maybe like a big brother fatherly role to Egg, right? Like he's got to look out for Egg. He's got to feed Egg. He lifts Egg on his shoulders so that Egg can actually see the joust that's going on.
Well, let's talk about that.
And so I imagine that this bond will start to form between the two of them into something that's much tighter than we currently have in the first 2 episodes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a fun little tidbit is like in the main Game of Thrones show, there's a episode where Joffrey and Jaime are looking at the Book of the King's Guards, and they talk about Sir Duncan the Tall's page, and Joffrey's like, "Oof, that's like 4 pages dedicated to Sir Duncan. Well, he must have really." Just little cool. I'm sorry, just a sidebar, but just little moments like that of like, hey man, they've already fed us breadcrumbs of like this dude is a legend, but that's really fun to see that like we're
not at the legendary status
yet.
It's
like, oh, this man's got this LeBron James type of just aura and just mythical figure to him, and then we see him just getting berated and
turns out he's Max Struess
nonstop.
It kind of looks like Cooper Flag.
The way the courtesans were just like, oh, he's sad, and he's just like, okay, can y'all chill? Like, y'all chill on me.
I like that you called them courtesans.
Yeah, but I want to co-sign a little bit of what Brian said of and this is where I gotta just eat crow about how absurdly wrong I was. I thought Duncan was I know his character was always portrayed as kind of a dumb, a little dense, like that's how he's always been characterized. Maybe it didn't click in the book, but in the show, oh my god, the casting, the way they handled that, they knocked it out the park. He's just this lovable oaf. But they make him dumb, but not dumb in a way where you're mad at him because he's not like unintelligent. I think he actually does have some pretty perceptive moments where, it's like people stuff, but it's almost that Mandalorian vibe of like, he doesn't realize he's in the Game of Thrones, or he kind of realizes it a little bit, but he just really sells you on that. He's just a dude element. And to your point, Brian, and really I'm thinking about shows in general, especially in modern television, side opinion, you don't get too many genuinely earnest characters in shows these days, especially as like a lead and like they're like a main character. The closest we've gotten beyond that is maybe your girl from Fallout, Lucy.
Yeah.
That might be the closest thing, which funny enough we just talked that, but like you don't get too many genuine earnest hardcore characters. And I don't know, man, I don't know if it's the writing, the acting, the direction, all of that, but they really have made me an immediate fan of Sir Duncan, and that alone has just made me hyper invested in the series because we know it's more character focused. We know it's more about him. When you give me a character focused series and I immediately like the main character, that's just a really good sign because now I just want to see him move through this world and deal with just all the shit that happens. But also, it's not just the depressing dark shit that's in the other series. It's more of just social dynamics and where do you fit in this class of society, and like still dope shit, but it's really fun to watch, and it ties into the humor of the show, which I have to say is my favorite shift in terms of this show feeling different from the others. Even just like the bit where like when he kept doing the flash cuts of him getting slapped by Sir Arlen, I was
Sir
like,
Arlen.
oh, so this is one of these kind of shows? Okay, cool. This is gonna be great. And I'm glad that we have a show in this world. Like Wesley, he's talked about Game of Thrones fatigue. For me, I think the fact that they're giving us these such different lead characters and leaning into humor and not this big, depressing, large-scale story is keeping it really refreshing for me.
Yeah,
I can watch and not just feel depressed at the end of the episode. I can be like, oh, that was wholesome. Like the worst thing we saw was an old man super schlong. For the record, in a bit that was genuinely funny because he's really telling his story about his like he really trying to like dress up the story about his master and is like, I mean, yeah, he was a dude.
He had the anaconda out.
He's just the old man. He's just the old man at the gym in the locker room.
but yeah, I don't know, man. Like say we talk about the Marvel shows of it's nice when a show is just afraid to do its own thing, and I'm glad that they're able to say, hey, look, yeah, it's Game of Thrones. Yeah, sure, if you do this world, it's probably a money printing machine. But there's creative liberty to make this your own thing, and they're really running with that, and that's really endeared me to the show. Again, considering that I had very low expectations, so it's fire, man.
Nice. The show, you just talked about it, like the show has lighter moments. I mean, this is kind of a spoiler of the gag, but in the first hopefully you've seen the episodes at this point. The first 5 minutes, I think, or 10 minutes of the, I think it was like 10 minutes of the first episode. They put the title card up, and it's diarrhea or shit coming out of the tree.
Yeah, play right.
Yeah, they were gonna do the title card.
And then he shits all over it.
His face kind of like he had that, oh, I ate something funny. This is good acting. There was a brief moment where he had the, oh, I got a shit face. I was like, because the music is swelling up, and I'm like, why made that face? And I'm like, oh, he's shitting. Yeah, that's definitely the stomach gurgling. You like, oh boy, hold on, everything has changed.
So you
actual
know this
poop joke.
You
gross,
know, yeah.
But like good tone, it was a good tone setter. It's a good expectation setter of what the show's gonna be. Of like, okay, cool. It's not gonna be people getting tortured all effing day. And I was a good misdirect. There's
moments for real life craziness, you know, that could happen here.
But that is a question, right? Like, if you're like me and you like Game of Thrones for the political intrigue, sort of like the gruesome violence that happens, right? That heighten the stakes of everything on the show, but also characters just, you know, playing that political game with each other with knives in a phone booth. If that's what you're looking for in Game of Thrones, what do you make of this show, right?
You will feel the same way I felt about Andor.
Is it even in Westeros at this point?
Yeah, it's the same relationship I had with the show of Andor, of like, you have these big expansive worlds. I think it's good to take advantage of it by telling different types of stories, because that's the point of having a big sandbox of worlds, where if you don't do different types of stories, the pro and con is that you can engage different audiences, Brian, in different types of stories. You risk alienating some, but like, you know, I don't think it's a real issue, because if it's a good show, people will rock with it. But like, I think it'll be the way people felt about Andor. I think that's the key, right?
If it's Andor's a good show, people like it.
Yeah, Andor's a good show, and it got accolades it deserved. I watched Star Wars for very different things, so did I enjoy it? No, I recognized it was good, and I'm still happy Star Wars fans get it, because it's something different to mix it all up. So I imagine, Brian, that
Andor is great through and through. You can't say anything more than that.
I can't believe you don't enjoy it.
I literally just sung all the show's praises, and y'all still
I know. It boggles my
let
mind.
me. I uplifted the show. I acknowledged all the fire shit about it. But yeah, Brian, I think it's that. I think it's one of those, if you're in for the political intrigue, and again, that was my issue with the series to begin with. I just think it's one of those, you got to go in with an open mind, and if you like a little bit of a variation of it, you'll enjoy it. And if not, it's safe to say, okay, cool, I like these things. That's okay. I'm going to wait for the next season of House of the Dragon.
I remember George R.R. Martin being interviewed about the first season, I think, of Game of Thrones, and the fact that, you know, this is spoilers to Game of Thrones, I guess, but like Ned Stark gets killed early on in that series.
Mm-hmm.
And
what?
You know,
he does?
And the way it, you know, you sort of follow the show, you think that Ned Stark is going to be your main character. He's probably going to have a little bit of plot armor. He's probably not going to get killed off. He's kind of an honorable dude. We like him. We think like, okay, this is a dude we can root for, and he gets done in, like, you know, by the end of the first season, I think. And George R. R. Martin reflected on that. And he's like, the audience sort of needs to know, and this is like their first, not their first. The audience realizes and learns at this point that like having honor and doing the right thing doesn't get you anywhere in this world. It actually is probably a bad thing for you to be able to survive and gain power and succeed. And so I'm a little bit worried for Sir Duncan here, because he is another character in that mold of, he's honorable, he's trying to do the right thing, he's eager to like show, you know, like, hey, we can be, you know, our better selves, right? And George R. R. Martin has been on record saying, in this world, those kind of people get taken advantage of, or they get you know, taken, basically. And so I know that Sir Duncan has 4 pages in the Kingsguard Journal, or whatever that thing is called. So I'm hoping that, you know, maybe the rules of that upper echelon tier of people does not apply maybe to the regular people. Hopefully, we'll see. I mean, there is a moment,
maybe he loses his honor.
Or maybe he loses his honor. We'll see. But you do see, like, you know, I think his name is Balon or something like that. One of the
Baelor Targaryen.
He
the prince.
The prince, yeah, he also seems to have some bit of honor and, you know, respect
Principle,
for things.
This is a very, what I will say is that and this isn't a spoiler, this is a very interesting batch of Targaryens that we're going to be engaging with and learning more about. I think you get some of your typical Targaryen shit of like some of them just being absolutely unlikable a-holes, which that's kind of par of the course. Like,
that was his brother, clearly.
Yeah, they make it pretty. You learn pretty quickly who the a-hole Targaryens are because they can't help themselves.
They're like just the blonde ones.
Yeah, they literally just can't help it. Like it's, they don't know what to do. It's hard coded. But I think Wes, we get an interesting batch of Targaryens and characters in this. And what I'll say is that, yes, George likes to push the thing about, good characters die, but two things. One, the tone of this show is just very different. And
you're on first name basis with them.
Look, I'm just saying, all I'm saying is that
George.
All I'm saying is that, yes, Game of Thrones is a show that's like infamous for like characters not being safe. Kind of. Some people do get crazy plot armor. But I think that's going to contrast heavily with the tone of this show. And not to say that like bad shit won't happen, because it's just one of these world shit happens. But like, I just don't anticipate this show being just the massive, just emotional drag and downer that the other ones can be. And I think you'll probably still have some tragic shit. Tragic shit is definitely going to happen, but I just think it's not going to be
it's Westeros.
Same. Yeah, it's Westeros, but I just don't think it's going to be nearly as... This show just isn't going to go into like the torture porn, emotional torture porn range that like Game of Thrones would get into sometimes. Like, I don't think it's a spoiler to say this just isn't really that kind of show, and so maybe set your expectations accordingly of like, you're not going to need, a therapy session after because you didn't seen this awful thing happen to someone who absolutely didn't deserve it.
I'm okay with that. I mean, we're going to get House of the Dragon later in the year, so we'll get our fill of that. Exactly. So I like that this is a different, it's a little palate cleanser, a little bit different, but still kind of keeps us in this fun, obviously fun universe that we're in. The show, obviously we're talking about it now, is that it's a little bit lighter in some ways. I mean, I think there's still some heavy things they're dealing with, but it's a little bit lighter. We have the poop jokes, we have all the stuff. How has been this like shift in the balance of like the tone of the show worked for you? And I did want to bring up here that there's still some like real genuine stuff here that's happening that's like kind of not nuanced, but it is deeper, is that we hear Sir Duncan talk about Sir Arlen quite a bit and describe how he feels about him. He's like, he was so honorable, he did this, and talk about the way that this man was. And in the first 2 episodes, we see flashbacks of Sir Arlen, and the showrunners really want us to know like how they're going back to these flashbacks and how the other series did not do flashbacks. Like, Jesus, guys, like it works for the show. Like, don't pat yourself on the back too hard here.
Just enjoy the shit. The shit funny. You don't think these flashbacks are hysterical?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the showrunners in the behind the scenes stuff, they love talking about how we're using flashbacks in these episodes and we've never done it before in Westeros. It's like, guys, you didn't invent flashbacks. That's a thing that exists in other shows. Like, it's okay.
They got like little brother syndrome over there. They're like, we know this isn't House of the Dragon, but we got flashbacks.
Yeah.
But
what I wanted to say is these flashbacks show us that Sir Arlen wasn't actually the things that Sir Duncan is talking about. He describes him as being honorable. He describes him as being really helpful and whatever, and that he wants him to be, that he taught him all these things. And it turns out that Sir Arlen taught him none of these things, that Sir Arlen was actually just kind of a regular dude and like had some moments where he like took care of people, but he wasn't super effective as a knight. He wasn't, he was kind of a womanizer. He was kind of a drunkard a little bit, right? Like he beat him up. He was abusive. And so the good things about Sir Duncan and the honorable things about Sir Duncan really are about himself. And he just has to recognize, actually, like, I'm the reason why I am the way I am as well. But he hasn't yet necessarily. And so I love that, like, he's also a little bit of an unreliable narrator. We don't actually know, like, Sir Duncan, like, do you understand how the world works, or like your understanding of people? Like, maybe you actually don't understand this as well as you do, or like you need to yet. And I like that there's like things you can do with that later on that might play into that. And even if not, it just shows that like he wants to see the best in people. It helps characterize his character, I think, nicely.
He really does not fit in Westeros. He's like a character taken from another IP. Like, he's like from Candyland being dropped into the middle of Westeros.
Oh yeah.
And he's so dim that, like, in some ways the flashbacks kind of indicate that maybe Sir Duncan is being gaslit the whole time. Like,
yeah.
He's like, this was what it means to be a knight, right? It's like honorable to live outside under trees and not have a home. Basically, he's a squire for a drunk homeless guy who sometimes fought in battles, maybe. And like one of the key things that Sir Duncan has to do to try to get into this knight and joust tournament is get some other knight to vouch for Sir Arlen, to
no one
vouch
will do
for
it.
his former knight. And turns out, right, like nobody remembers this, this like peon that maybe fought in a battle. And I think it's like not that Sir Arlen didn't do these things. What's interesting about the show is that it's still sophisticated enough to explore kind of the social class dynamics that are in play in Westeros, right? And what it's saying to me is that all the lords, have their fiefdoms, and they list these like common folk, right? Like these down and out people.
But they don't do it themselves. It's like hiring extras, right? Yeah,
they're just like hiring people to be bodies on a battlefield. And of course, they're not going to remember, the homeless guy that they paid like 2 shillings to take a knife into the
He's
chest.
just knight number 26.
They got conscripted.
They're not even getting paid, right? So
they
like,
don't get paid?
No, that's the whole point is that when you're on a lord's land, it's their land. It's feudalism. You're on the land, you live there, you pay your tithes and all that to them.
He doesn't live anywhere. Okay.
No, but I mean, he was a knight, so I think he did it in service. But I think Brian's just talking about in general, when they build these armies, they're conscripting, they're recruiting the local peasants who live on the land, and that's like you live on my land and all that shit. So
you got to fight for
when war happens, you have to give
thanklessly, right? Yeah. Like they don't remember you, they don't give a f about you.
Feudalism, baby.
You might give up your life for this thing, but like, who gives a damn? Who gives a damn? And that's what Sir Duncan is finding out, even though he thinks it is honorable to be a quote unquote hedge knight. In reality, it's something else. It's somebody who's gotten taken advantage of, had a rough life, probably a drunkard because life is so rough. But in a weird turn of events, because Sir Duncan is so dim, that has actually twisted into him being a values-driven type of person, right? Him actually embracing ideals of heroism, because he's not trapped by like
status,
titles and status and gold and all these other empty things that exist in Westeros.
He can afford to have ideals, or values.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of like the interesting thing. Even though this is a poop joke kind of show, it still has this level of intelligence that's happening in the background.
All right, Sav, what do you want to say?
One thing I want to just add, I want to add a slightly more generous interpretation of Sir Alan. I mean, they make it very clear that like he was a complex, flawed man. I don't really think though him just like sleeping with the courtesans is really a big deal, and the drunken, like, because even the Balin says he didn't do anything of distinction, but he didn't dishonor himself either, which I thought that was a really good summation of kind of like Duncan's complicated relationship with him. Like, I don't think it's as simple as, his master was shitty and he just Stockholmed his way into being a half decent person. Like, I think it's a complicated, he wasn't a hero or a badass or all of the really like noble things. He wasn't very, very clean cut necessarily, but I don't think it's a stretch to say that he was still a good person. Like, he did take and dunk and teach him everything he knew. He didn't have to do that at all. He took him under his wing for years at a time, raised them. And I do think that that's a very important detail to hang on to in terms of how it influences Duncan's character. That is the direct motivation of Dunk taking Egg under his wing and wanting to not only support him and do what his master did for him, but also be better than what his master was for him as well. But like, I don't think it's as simple as, the guy was shitty and lucky Duncan got out of it. I think he was a complicated person who definitely wasn't some big thing of honor, but did what he could when he could. Like, he gave people coins when he could, when he can afford it. Like, I think it's one of those, but I think that's an important detail to hang on to in terms of, it's not like Duncan developed that moral compass himself. Sir Arlen did do some base shit that he recognizes, hey man, I owe you everything. So yes, did you hit me for some shit that I didn't deserve to do? Sure.
Except for that one thing.
Except for the time where it's like, hey man, that shit wasn't me. That was old boy. And you can see old boy running in the background away, which again, hilarious little just gag they did in a serious moment. But like,
his head bounced off the post.
But I do like the complexity of like Pennytree being a mix of, he wasn't great, but he was very important to Duncan, and it's cool to watch Dunk kind of real time figure out, because even through the different flashbacks, some are less generous than others. But looking at all of them in summation, was he perfect? No, but he did the best he did good. He did the best he could considering everything. And for Duncan, that was a life-changing thing. And so, I think he's very grateful to that. And like, even if that one little life-changing moment is what Dunk carries with him, it clearly is what motivates his character. And we see those moments pop up even in just these 2 episodes. We just see, hey, he's a good-natured person, and it starts with just him being taken under the wing by someone who had no reason or incentive to do so.
And to your point, like, Baelor Targaryen remembers Pennytree, right? Sir Arlen of Pennytree as somebody who is formidable at another night tournament. And so what I'm hoping is
he was real. He was a real person.
Yeah.
That, you know how fucked up they gotta be all these people is like,
all these people.
I don't know that, man.
Who
is
that guy?
But to your point, that's the whole class element of like, oh my God, you can be all that and just not exist. And even Dunk has this little existential moment of like, oh my God, what does that mean? But yeah, Brian, sorry, back to you.
Footnote of a footnote of a footnote in history, right? And what I'm hoping in, the next or back half of the season is that we do get at least one flashback where we actually see Sir Arlen of Pennytree do his night thing and really inspire and uplift Sir Duncan. And I hope it kind of comes full circle somehow through the course of the show.
Yeah, like more at the height of his powers. We see him where he's kind of at the end of his life and he's caught some kind of infection and sickness, and Dunk is actually able to best him in battle or in a sparring match with just like a hammer in his hand. Like, he didn't have a shield or anything, but Sir Arlen takes the fall in their little sparring match. I did want to say that there's 2 things that really stuck out to me. I mean, well, besides the humor, there's some like funny quips, like that moment where Egg is like, and?
I'm sorry, I just can't
Duncan
get over
is like,
that.
what else? Yeah, what else do you want from me? He's like, shut up, like, stop talking. I'm in the moment here.
That little boy is such a good actor, bro. I'm just sitting there like, yo, I like this little homie. He is killing me because clearly he's educated. Clearly he's smarter than he lets on.
Yeah, for sure.
I love those 2.
It seems like he's self-taught. He's very resourceful. He obviously can see like this is a thing I could take advantage of, and he seizes on the moment.
Like a whole, not like a half-ass setup.
And he caught the fish. He was cooking it. Like,
he washed the clothes. Like he's clearly capable in a way.
At this world.
He's very capable in a way that's almost off-putting. Of like, because you even see him just a little bald-headed boy sitting in the camp, everything set up. You just, what the fuck?
But I love that he was just like, and Dunk was just like oblivious to like he had to keep going with like your sentence construction, man. You set it up so there'd be a second part.
I hope your sons are found. Hopefully not dead. Oh my God, when he said that, and then Prince Maekar made that look of just
like, oh, I'm gonna behead you right now.
No,
yeah, like,
did you kill kids? No, it wasn't. I don't think it was that. It was what the hell is wrong with you, bro?
Well, I thought he was like, did you just threaten my kids?
I took it as like oh my God, this might be the stupidest MF I ever met in my life. Because I think they established in that conversation he's not a threat, he's just a dummy. And I think Maekar is really just like, that was some good facial acting. Because I feel like I feel like I made the same face in the moment watching. I'm like, what is wrong with you, bro?
I thought it was great that the daughter planted the seed, right? Like, she planted the seed and it got like telephoned in his brain, like, to something different than he wanted it to be. But wait, I wanted to point out 2 things that I really enjoyed about this.
Yeah.
So when Duncan goes into the tent with Baratheon, I forget his first name, Leland or something like that. Lionel. Hilarious. Love that scene. And what a showstopper. That guy is from The Gentleman or something like that. What is
he's the
plays
brother in The Gentleman.
He plays in the chicken suit.
Him. Yeah.
What a phenomenal character. Love that guy.
That was a great scene.
I want more of him. He did this thing where he like put on the crown back at the end after they're drunk, and his antler runs into the chandelier, and he goes, "Sorry." He keeps going. Like, oh man, what great choices. He's like, I'm thirsty. Yeah. He's like, keep going. You're doing great. I'm thirsty. I'll be right back. It's like, you started this and then you just left them, and Duncan, true to form, just digs his heels in and is like, I'm just gonna muscle the crap out of this, because like once I start something, I'm gonna finish it. And then the jousting, when we get introduced to it, I think this is episode 2. It's a jousting scene I've never seen before. It's 5 jousts happening simultaneously, and you get a sense of like, it's like almost it becomes like out of this world, this joust. It's almost like, do these guys have superpowers? Like, they're like they're getting like unhorsed, and like all the lances are breaking. They like their squires are like finely tuned NASCAR pit squads. They hand them the lance, and they're ready to go back in again and do again. Yeah.
And all the camera work during all of that
such
too.
great camera work.
Yeah.
And then you see the man, he hops on somebody else's horse in the middle of the joust, sweeps down on the side of his horse, picks up his own shield that had fallen, and is ready for another go at this. Like, it was just what a fun, I don't know, visual spectacle of how you could film a joust. I mean, a Knight's Tale from, I don't know, 25 years ago with Heath Ledger had some cool joust scenes, but just the fact that it was 5 going on at once and the chaos of the scene, and this was nighttime. What a great job they did to really put this set piece together. And I don't know. I just wanted to highlight that like this, I don't know if it's adventure, but this action sequence was really well done. And for something so small, but it's not just done for the action's sake. You get to see Egg realize like, oh, like if I'm going to do the Squire thing, like there's some things I'm going to have to figure out. And you can see his mind working, and he's like, wait a second, put me down. I need to get closer, because he needs to see it up close to get more details and really like soak it in. He's like, oh, this is, you can tell it's like controller forward, you know, like his elbows are on his knees now. And you can see Duncan being like
the opposite.
Oh,
bro.
fuck. Yeah, like he thought like I could go in. I'm big, I'm strong, I got some skills, and he was like, oh, this is, I'm still at like the JV level. That is all pro right there. You know,
thinks he's gonna win the tournament.
He went to the dunk contest thinking he gonna win off vibes, and it's like he saw seeing Mac McClung doing 360s and people doing under the leg windmills, and he
was gonna win with a reverse dunk.
And he's like, shit, man,
just like a simple reverse.
He's like, oh shit, that's your warm ups. Shit, man. Nah, that was such a sorry, Wes. That was such a good moment of the characters too.
Yeah, so like I love that like
mentalities.
I love that the action scene also though told us more about it, right? Like, or it showed us more about what's happening here, and gave those characters moments of growth or moments of like something, you know. And what a great way to not just have an action scene be in there for action's sake, but actually like be there for a reason.
Amen. And this was a scene that
five.
This was a scene that like told me like, oh, this is a Game of Thrones show, right? Like for a lot of the first 2 episodes, like, oh, this could be in any fantasy world. It doesn't need to be tied to Westeros at all or whatever. But this and a couple other scenes where it's like, one, like the amount of craft and budget that goes into that thing, Game of Thrones level for sure. But the other part of it, how it just like grounds the show in what all the Game of Thrones series do, which is show you a grounded version of what a fantasy world or medieval world would look like, and make the stakes really high, because the reality of these things is that like people are going to die, people are going to get maimed. It's a really harsh world. And so that raises the stakes, and we're going to show it to you in a way that you've never like experienced before either, right? Like it's also at the same time going against, a Knight's Tale archetype. Like, if we're going to make this real, let's get really real. And I thought, that's where the show kind of like takes off into a new trajectory, where it's like, oh, this is Game of Thrones. It's this new thing, but it's still tied to what we can expect in a Game of Thrones type show. The joust scene is a perfect example.
Yeah, and doing it without a bunch of like not being about war and death. This was like all competitive competition show fighting, but they still managed to make it entertaining, tense, and meaningful to characters. Yeah, Brian, couldn't agree more with both of you. I know we're wrapping up. Quick thing, sidebar, another just recurring bit I love. Most shows I feel like are bad about actually making a tall character come off as like actually being tall. Because, actors sometimes don't be tall, or camera trick.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes it's just hard to really sell a character on screen as being the biggest MF in the room in a show where there's going to be lots of people. And that's hard to pull off. And the actor apparently is like 6'5". So he is in. And honestly, just keep it weird, not even in a weird way. Even the nude scenes, I was like, that's a big boy. Like,
talk about shelf.
I'm just saying, like, when he was in the river, I was like, that's a big MF. Like, I wouldn't want to have to fight.
It's a large human.
That's a big dude. But as a watcher, I kept being like, it's a big MF. But in the show, everyone else kept doing the same thing, but in a way that was like, if someone who's really tall, this has to be what it's actually like, because everybody's just the first thing they see. God damn. Oh my lord.
Yeah.
When they called him a half man, and they did the little mini callback to Tyrion being called the half man, and they reversed it as him being half man, half giant, I thought that was hysterical. But
which was like also an insult somehow.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
but yeah, but not a lot of shows I think do a good job of the lead character being, especially with actors, being portrayed as a actual larger than life human being, and they consistently sell me on that and make it feel like, oh yeah, no matter what happening, he hitting his head, he's bigger, he can't hide. Even at the party, they spot that man all the way across the room. It's like, yeah,
okay,
bro.
the hitting his head on the door though, that was like too much.
That happens though,
Yeah,
bro.
there was a lot of it.
Y'all laugh. There were multiple periods in
But
my
we're-
life in certain
we are not
spaces where I
tall
was
people.
hitting my head. Yeah, I'm like, no offense.
You
I don't
speak
want
for
to hear
the
you
tall
short
community.
people talking about it's not realistic for somebody to hit their head on a door.
Twice.
No offense. I've literally, when I lived in a FEMA trailer, me and my dad would regularly hit our effing heads on the door sill because it was just too low. And if you just walking in stride, you just gonna hit your West. No offense, but
I've never hit my head on a door.
respect.
He's a different half man.
Respect our lifestyle. I've hit my head on the ceiling in house parties before, bro. It's the stupid. That don't even make sense. I'm regular tall. But the point is, they do a good job of really selling you on. It's Sir Duncan the tall, and it's like,
Was that
yeah,
a brag? Was he
that's
just
right.
saying like, I got excellent hops, like see me on the basketball court, fellas? Like
that wasn't a sport
he's like,
reference
I
at
jumped
all.
so high, I hit that 8-foot ceiling with my
No,
head, bro.
No, what I'm saying is just that, no offense, I've hit my head on stuff you haven't. I don't know what you saying. So I just don't think I take,
Never hit my head on anything.
I
There's
just-
nothing
just
I can
don't
hit
think-
my head
I
on.
just don't feel comfortable with you saying, yeah, I don't know. I don't
know,
think
when
it
you
was
walk under
realistic that the
tables,
tall
Wes.
guy hit the, you know what I'm saying? Like,
All right,
I don't
fair
be
enough.
making assumptions about y'all small experience. I don't talk about y'all experience navigating through mouse holes.
Hey,
and,
don't lump me with Wes here.
Bro,
I'm
it is not
average.
that small. I'm much shorter than Brian. All right, we already talked about, I think, this being a little bit more of a small scale, man of the streets type of show. We're not with the big houses. We're not with the lords and the kings and the princes and all that. We're not with the dragons. Did you want to say anything else about like this being maybe a show that's a little bit smaller in scope?
I like that there's no end game. For House of the Dragon, you know that it's a Targaryen civil war for the throne. For Game of Thrones, you knew like more or less like certain things that they were building up to, even the White Walkers from episode 1. This show doesn't have some just ominous ending game that you have to build up to, which is cool because I think it just lets the characters just simply be. And sometimes it's nice to have a story where you don't have this artificial sense of urgency. Dunk is just out here being a knight in the 7 kingdoms. That's
Yeah.
it. And so let's just
Can you
enjoy him.
survive?
Let's just enjoy him being out in this world. And I just like that pacing rather than feeling like, oh my God, when are they going to get to the ultimate, penultimate conflict? When it's like, it's not really what it's about. It's just about the show is inherently about the journey, which I appreciate rather than the other shows where it's kind of all about where it's going to all end up. It doesn't really matter where it ends. It's just about doing Dunkin' egg shit.
That's
Yeah,
like
it's
a big problem
Almost
with
like
big.
it's Mandalorian. It's almost
franchises.
Mandalorian. It's almost Mandalorian energy of like the real value is them just exploring, doing slice of life shit more than some grand conflict going on behind. Not to say that there isn't one, but that shouldn't be the selling point.
Yeah, it's a classic hero's tale, I think.
Mhm.
And Dunk is so likable. Like you said, like really perfect casting for this guy that,
Should we
those,
name him?
those classic,
Should we give
those
him his
classic
flowers?
tales work for a reason, right? Like you just root for the guy, and I can't wait for him to get his day in the sun. His moment of glory. You just want that for him, and it's kind of nice not thinking that there's going to be some awful tragedy like hanging around the corner, like some pregnant woman getting stabbed or something like that. Like I'm kind of happy
No,
that I'm not waiting for that trap.
it's not a patient.
At least
no,
I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, it's not people all trying to murder their nieces, nephews, and half siblings.
Yeah.
Niggas trying to murder an entire brand, all their father's stepchildren, all their
I
father's
think like somebody
children
might
from his
get
second
maimed
marriage.
accidentally, but like
I mean, there's definitely some stuff that happens out, like not a spoiler. There's definitely some shit that happens, and some stuff is sad, but it's not in just like it's just in a different way than Game of Thrones, where it was just people being as awful to each other as possible. It's not war; it's more tragedy than just war, where it's like, hey, you're my brother, we beefing. Okay, I'm gonna murder you. Oh, I can't get you. I'm gonna blow up your family. Like, all right, man, let's chill out. We just got some tea.
All right, so shout out. So the actor you guys have been shouting out, Peter Claffey, plays Sir Duncan the Tall, and then Egg is played by Dexter Soul Ansel. I think that's how you say it. So
Yeah, I think I read he was like 8 or 9 when they recorded when he filmed
yeah,
for
I
the
think
show.
9.
So he was a youngin.
Wow, 9?
9.
Jeez.
Such good acting chops at that age, bro. Blew my mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Them Brits.
Let's just wrap it up there. We were gonna do what do you want your sigil to be, but we'll save that. Maybe we'll save that for the wrap up show when we get to the end of the series. For 2 episodes, how do we stand? Are we invested? It sounds like we are. Like, what is your appetite for seeing more of this? Yeah, Brian, I think we can answer this shortly. It sounds like we're into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Super excited. Like I said, I can't wait for Sir Dunk to have his moment of glory. He's gonna have a hard time in this next tournament.
It might not be coming.
I think.
Yeah.
But then I think he'll turn it around somehow, and it'll be interesting and fun to watch.
Sav.
I'm here for it. Like I said, I have to 100% eat. Is the term eat crow when you were just like wrong and shit?
Yep.
I gotta eat crow. I had very low expectations. I was not interested in the characters or this. This was my least of all the eras in George R. R. Martin's world. It's the one I was by far the least interested in, and the show has just really brought these characters and stuff to life in a way where I'm just fully engaged. So I'm totally in. And some of the stuff, what happens a little bit if you know the book stuff, but like who cares? Like the production value and storytelling and stuff is really well done. So I'm excited.
Does it give you some motivation to go back to the novels and see if
Retry?
Now that you've seen it, that like maybe you're more invested, or is it like like that's kind of still not the avenue for
I'll
you?
give the novellas a chance once we're done with this series.
You would, okay.
Once it's done,
so that's good.
I'll give it another honest try. Because the main reason was that I just think I was engrossed in the more gritty, darker stories of the other 2 things, and I just didn't have an appetite for that. I just didn't realize it could be, now that I know, this can be adopted in a way that's really, really good. Now I'm totally down to give it a second chance.
Okay, cool. I like it. I am invested. I don't think the show is for everybody, though. I was kind of telling like Jen the premise of it. I was like, "Did you want to watch it?" And she's like, "Yeah, not really. Like that doesn't seem like my kind of thing." So it's like interesting, right? Like she doesn't necessarily want to see like the small stories. She still wants to see like the big epic arcs of what's happening in the Game of Thrones world.
Dragons and armies. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So this show doesn't have to be for everybody, and I think there is probably a segment of people who love the world of Game of Thrones and love the like intrigue there, and then are gonna watch this show and be like, he's just kind of adult, and like I'm not really like into seeing that right now. Like I want to see something where there's a little bit more, I think, like agency in the beginning. Obviously, I don't think Dunk is just letting the story happening to him, but he does have some aspects of that. So I could see somebody not really vibing with that part of this, but I'm really into it, and I enjoy the nice balance of like the humor, the earnestness. You're still seeing like the kind of dickishness of certain people and how it all like works together. And then obviously we got some great action scenes already.
And the episodes are so short that
are they that short?
Very low.
40, they're like 45 minutes.
Okay.
Not
so you're not
even less than
hour.
I think the second episode was like 30, 33 or 35.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
They don't feel long at all.
I'm enjoying it. I think people should watch it. I'd recommend it for the most part to most people.
You're right.
Especially if you like
it was 30 minutes.
The Game of Thrones world and just want to see more stories that are just a little bit different in tone. This show is well written and well performed. So that's what I would say.
And what I'll add is that if you're someone like me who is into like the supplementary material of the little books that's about the outside world and all the other side.
Continue.
I'm like, I have no defense.
I said it as a positive.
No. He's right. It's like I just have no defense. I'm like, he's right. I'm like, I have no defense. This is Nerd Alert. I will say, if you're someone who's into the supplementary stuff, this series is also fun because there are some cool connect the dot moments where if you've read all these different stories over the years, you kind of start to see the connections between different Targaryens. It is cool to recognize, this character is the great blah, blah, blah of this character who we actually saw when we were younger. And it does get cool to see, like, even in this book, there's a few characters who you might not have realized they actually mentioned Maester Aemon by name, the old guy who was at the wall in the original Game of Thrones, the guy who was like the Maester. Like they even kind of reference him in this show, but like there's a bunch of little cool moments like that of certain characters either getting referenced or popping up again. And if you're into the side shit, the little through lines are very cool to observe.
I am glad that you don't have to know the Targaryen bloodline though, because it's a mess. Like it's just so much. Not just that they're interbreeding, but that like it's just so many people and all their names sound all the same that like it's really hard to keep track. You don't need to know all that. It's like
Wes,
if you do, it's great. But
all that shit I read over the years, it is the most nonsensical dynasty and family tree I've ever, fictional or real, that I've ever. That's one of those like I know the tree and I'm just saying it's too big.
There's too many people on the tree.
Yes, it's bull dinky. It doesn't help with anything. I'm like, cool,
but it is cool knowing like what that family is kind of like generally, and I think that adds something
exactly.
to the
There's
show.
a reason why your boy Baylor didn't have the blonde hair of all the other Targaryens.
Right.
Like that's.
But you don't need to know all that.
Well, he's a descendant of the brown-haired ones.
Yeah,
the bastard ones.
Yeah,
basically.
and it's not. Oh, his mama. His mama was brown hair.
She was Dornish.
All
his mom was Dornish.
All
but
his
you know,
siblings
she was hooking up with the.
Well, no, it's not even that though. It's just he just looks different from the other siblings. They all full blooded, but he's the one with the darker hair than the others, and so like that's his own. It's just little cool shit like that. That's like you don't need to know it, but it's cool little just background building out the world. Where if you've been a long-term fan, you're rewarded for it. But it's not necessarily Marvel, where it's like, oh, you didn't watch this movie, or where you're just kind of.
Yeah, I'm glad you don't need to know all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other guy is a Baratheon, right? Because he had the antlers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the guy Lionel was a Baratheon, but the other two we met when they were talking about Prince Arthur, that was two of the Targaryen princes. Like their brothers is just, siblings be siblinging.
Yeah. Baylor is first in line to succeed to the throne, and then the guy with the blonde hair, he's like fourth in line. But not really, because Baylor's sons, does he have sons? Would be the next in line.
Yeah, Baylor has his sons. We saw his sons.
He's
a lot of shit.
Other great joke, the stable boy asking Sir Dunk if he is
That was hilarious.
Baylor Targaryen. You're not? Get the fuck out of the way.
I love that. Like, man, even their stable boys are above Duncan's standing.
Hey, they lucky Dunk chill, because we've seen what happens in this show with other people who are just naturally big. They be on some straight bully shit. We saw with the Mound and Hound, the Hound and the Mountain did.
The Hound, yeah.
Yeah, you saw those two. Like, they was two big MFs, and their first thought was, oh, we big? Oh, we bullying everything. Boy,
the Hound always looked big on screen. They did a good job of making him look large.
Well, I think that's a big dude though.
Yeah.
Like I think the actor's
well,
big
but
MF.
it wasn't like the Mountain, where the Mountain is clearly like a bodybuilder. It was just like that the Hound was just a large human and took up a lot of space and made Arya Stark look very small.
Yeah. So they better chill out on my son. They lucky Sir Dunk nice.
Yeah, that's true. All right, friends, we're out here. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. You can watch it on HBO Sunday nights. We've been enjoying it, so you might like it too if you haven't seen it yet. And if you did, let us know what you thought at confidently_pod. Hit us up on Instagram. We'll post this, make a little post for it, and then you can let us know what you thought in the comments. You could also DM us, I guess, if you want. Bye. Go Lakers.
All right, I got
Brian,
the
I know you got to bounce. Handle your business.
We're gonna beat the Knicks in the Garden tomorrow.
Oh, both y'all hoes lose.
We're on a 5-game win streak. I don't know.
We're not playing that good. Okay, bye.
Later, guys.